Welcome to the GPLama YouTube channel and to a look at some big changes coming to the X40 series Garmin EDGE bike computers. Now typically I wait for these updates to be released from beta into the public stream, but I am making an exception on this one as a heads up on what you can expect in the very near future. Also, what I'm covering here today is in the public beta stream, so it's no secret. The units in focus are the EDGE 540, 840 and 1040, also the solar variants of those. The EDGE Explore 2 is also listed as receiving these updates, but nothing's been posted to the public beta stream just yet for those units. So the overview of this big update, the USB data connection is switching to MTP, Media Transfer Protocol, as seen on the EDGE 1050. Now these devices have been USB mass storage for a very long time, and that's going to change very soon. The initial changelog for these updates also listed some interesting additions. Unfortunately, some of those have been removed or are only seen on the 1050. Now I'll cover those features in another video on that unit. On to a little more detail about MTP. Now backing up, most Garmin EDGE units, you've been able to plug them into a Mac or a PC or anything. They'll mount as a USB mass storage device, and from there you get a drive letter assigned, you can copy, delete, paste, etc. But things are a little different using MTP. So Garmin wearables, even though I've got an Apple Watch on, and the EDGE 1050 uses MTP rather than USB mass storage. This update brings these devices into line with Garmin's other products. Now it's a big change and no doubt will result in a lot of support queries for Garmin coming through online and people posting, why can't I connect to it when I plug it in? Maybe to clear off their workouts, maybe to free up some space, maybe to put a startup.txt on the device, or maybe to grab a screenshot off them. That's something you can do on these devices. So, knowing this change is coming and knowing how to now perform those tasks is why I'm doing this video. I've also been out test riding this latest firmware and will show the gradient reporting performance in real time later in this video. It's always something people ask about when there's new firmware updates to the EDGE X40 series. Now, back to the switch to MTP. Why the change? Well, Garmin state, MTP improves system stability and enables the engineering team to continue delivering new features to your Garmin device. This update will align these devices with the EDGE 1050 regarding how new updates are packaged and deployed. But from an end user perspective, MTP is a bit of a pain. It adds an abstraction layer, causing a few problems with edit and copy. You'll see that in a few moments. File transfer off these devices is a little slower, and you'll need an additional tool on macOS to get to the files on these units from now on. Now, since the release of the 1050, I've seen a number of posts online of users of the 1050 saying, I can't see the units, not the same. Things have changed from their previous device they've had. And within 24 hours of this update entering public beta, I've also seen the same question regarding these units too. Now, nothing changes in regard to using the devices, setting them up, pairing them up and going for a ride. Even Garmin Express on Mac and PC is still the same. But it's when you need to do a little bit more than just what I've listed that you'll soon meet MTP. Okay, an old for new comparison with, there we are, Windows, plugging an EDGE 540 in with the existing or previous firmware. Comes up as a mass storage device, eDrive, USB drive. Okay, we can click on that. Navigate our way around the folders directly on the device. Let's go down to startup.txt. Okay, there we are. We can open that straight off the drive, edit that if need be. We can put in whatever we like. I've got a whole other video on that. Save file, job done, and we disconnect it. All good. That's how things were. Now to plug in an 840 device that has been updated and now using MTP. There it is. Takes a little while to come up as a portable device, not a drive letter, but an accessible portable device. So Windows users, this isn't too bad. Things are a little bit different though. So we can navigate into the file system, well, what it allows us to access in the file system in a similar way. Let's sort that by details. We'll go to startup.txt again and try and make a small edit to that on the drive. So double click, dot, okay, file save. Ba-bow. No joy there. It copies the file to a temporary device and then just, it's not going to work like that. Okay, so just one of the things to be aware of with MTP, you don't have access to the file system directly. You have to copy files off, modify them, copy them back on. All right, that's Windows covered. Now over to the Mac and a quick trip down memory lane of how things used to be. Plugging in via USB, volume shows up there, navigate to Garmin directory. Let's go down and have a look at the startup.txt file down here. Double click, bring it into line with the screen there. Let's add something to that, editing directly from the volume there, GPLama. Startup.txt on X40 series now has emoji support. Let's put a llama. And that's now inserted to my startup.txt to be displayed when the EDGE boots up. All right, save on that one directly to the drive. Happy days, we're all good. Things are a little different now though with MTP. On screen here is a demonstration of what happens when you plug in an MTP device to macOS. That was my poor attempt at a tumbleweed or something like that. Yes, nothing actually happens by default. Over on the Garmin Support Center, they do have an article here explaining exactly what's going on for Mac computers, why my Mac computer is not recognizing my Edge 1050. Well, soon that will be the Edge 1040, the Edge 840, and the Edge 540, including solar variants, and possibly the Edge Explore 2, and that's because MTP under macOS has limited support. They also note that Garmin MTP devices can only be recognized by one application at a time. So if you have Garmin Express running in the background and you've plugged in your MTP device, something like the Android file transfer program is going to conflict with that connection to your Garmin. But don't worry about that, it'll pop up an error message and you'll be able to close Garmin Express and get to the files using something like the Android file transfer utility, which is now how you will access files on your MTP Edge device on a Mac if you need to get to them. And as you can see here, a 36 meg file copy isn't all that fast over MTP. And as is the case with MTP access on Windows, in macOS you've still got no access directly to the files. You need to copy them off, edit them, and copy them back on if you're doing something like a modification to the startup.txt. Okay, so that's MTP covered off and all you need to know about the changes coming to these units soon. There's a lot of other items in the firmware update. I'll get to those in just a few moments. But first, I went out to test ride the real-time gradient reporting on the 1040 today, just to see how well it went. On the bike today was the Element Roam version 2 and the Garmin EDGE 1040 Solar with this latest update installed. Okay, speed ramping through this climb here, you can see there are slight differences between the two when things change, but once they stabilize, they're relatively okay. I didn't have any problems at all. Well, I did on the bike, obviously. I need better legs, but here is me topping out on that climb, and it is the 1040 which drops the grade a little quicker. Okay, now we're both on -2, -1. Watch out for the Chevy. Through the dust. And there's a small section just around this corner that I'll play this through because I turn left up the road and the gradient changes. So you can see there, they're both stabilizing at about the same percentage. So no major issues at all with the grades. Oh, the Roam 2, -6, or -5. See, they stabilize. They eventually come together. Okay, turning up the road here to give way to traffic. And you'll see the lag on both of these. So I'm going up a hill here, and then I turn back around. They zero out. They go up. So they're both lagged a few seconds. But on the longer sustained climbs and descents, no problems. A little deeper into the Australian bush, and yeah, even more traffic. It's a gold mining area, this one. There's still a lot of prospectors out. Anyhow, back to the task at hand, looking at the gradient. Short little climb, 2, 3, 4%. Both head units agreeing with that. Onto a short descent of around maybe 100 meters or so. Garmin a little quicker on that one than the Roam 2. But once things stabilize after a few seconds, they really aren't too far off. Okay, and across Lady Creek, and as the road tilts up, Climb Pro gets in the way, so there we are. So all up, a successful test of the real-time grade reporting. Also, the system stability was good, no crashes during the ride from the EDGE 1040 Solar with this beta firmware, and most importantly, the weather. It's starting to pick up here, so lots more rides like this coming up in the near future. Now, another feature that I don't believe is documented in this changelogs is a lot more media control options for your auxiliary buttons on Di2 or SRAM axis. There's a whole other video for me to do on that one, but just a heads up, there are more options included with recent updates for media control with those secret buttons. Okay, on to the rest of the changelog here. Quite a few things listed. There's some group ride updates, Garmin coach updates. I believe I showed everybody how to turn that off if it's something that's popped up on your screen and you didn't want in a previous video. Updated MTP, obviously we've spoken about that in depth. Restored electronic shifting overtone. Now, if you're using an electronic group set, what the overshift warning is if you've got no more gears left, your unit will beep at you, which is pretty much an indication it's time to grind or time to upgrade your gearing. They've removed the legacy FTP test. Lactate threshold estimates are applied automatically after training with heart rate. This is an interesting one here. Added the 10-second and 30-second average power graphical data field. I can't find those on this unit. I can find them on the 1050. So this line item may not apply. I'll keep an eye on that one over the next few beta firmwares, but you'll see it when I cover the updates on this. Kind of handy little data fields, those ones. And this gets a few more really interesting ones. Whole of the video. From there, a number of miscellaneous updates and fixes. One I will pull out though, fixed phone connectivity issue. One of the major dramas people have with these units is phone pairing and maintaining that connection. That line item there is very vague, however, it's there. Fixed mismatching navigation arrow and distance to next arrow, so navigational prompts and things like that. Jumping down a few, fixed the consistency of climb pro behavior on a looped ride. Fixed route recalculation errors after deviating from a planned course. So on the fly route recalculation, there have been some updates for that. I'll dig into that as I get out for more rides with this new firmware. Next one, and I found this quite amusing, fixed an issue where course with a very slow virtual pace partner would crash the device. Now I've mentioned in previous videos that pace partner just can't be turned off. It's always there, and if you go through the forums you can see that everybody really doesn't like pace partner. One of the tricks people came up with to stop being annoyed by pace partner on a route was to set the pace partner speed within Garmin Connect to say 1 or 2 kilometers per hour. So a few kilometers down the road from where you started your ride, pace partner just didn't exist anymore. It was well back down the road. Unfortunately, that revealed a bug with these units and crashed them. So I guess Garmin can't win unless they allow us to completely remove virtual partner. At some point, God, I wish that would come soon. From there, two other very important ones that are pretty vague in their description. Fixed a crash when processing Bluetooth data and fixed various bugs and crashes. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. That's all the latest details on the recent public beta for the X40 series. There's no indication when this may go out to the general public, likely in a few weeks. Now, if you want to get ahead of the curve, I'll put links in the video description below where you can sign up and receive Garmin public betas, but definitely do that at your own risk. Now, lots more to dive into coming up on this channel. I may dive into this one in the next day or so, this being the Edge 1050, getting the same updates as these units today with a few additional data fields. Oh, and there's really cool music controls too. All right, as always, if you found this informative, give it the thumbs, hit the subscribes if you're not already a subscriber. If you already are a subscriber, I do appreciate it. And with that, thanks for watching.